I killed my bully by accident and woke up in a town without people. The first thing you notice about my hometown is the silence. It's not a peaceful quiet. It's a heavy, suffocating silence, like the air has been sucked out of the world, leaving only the damp chill of the mountains and the smell of wet pine. We were born from a diamond rush a century ago, but whatever riches were pulled from the earth, they took the town's soul down with them. The sky is a permanent sheet of bruised gray. The people walk with their shoulders hunched, their eyes fixed on the cracked pavement, the elderly especially. They look at you with this hollow disappointment, like they've seen your future, and it's just as bleak as their past. There's nowhere to go, no movie theater, no mall, just a single main street that ends in a muddy road. The only pulse in this corpse of a town is the Rusty Mug, a diner bar whose red neon sign bleeds into the perpetual fog. It's where everyone ends up. Truckers nursing coffees, families eating joyless burgers, and teenagers like me trying to pretend we were anywhere else. I was a ghost in my senior year of high school. I kept my head down, lived in books, and counted the days until I could leave. Being a loner in a town this small is a crime. People decided I was arrogant, that I thought I was better than them. The truth was, I just didn't have the energy to care. Except for Zoya, she was the one flash of color in my grayscale life. My only friend. She was fiercely, unapologetically alive, always ready to fight for some cause nobody else cared about. I remember the first day we spoke. She sat next to me in chemistry, her wild auburn hair a mess of curls, a constellation of freckles scattered across her nose. She was wearing 2 different earrings, a tiny silver moon and a bright yellow star. "Did you get dressed in the dark this morning?" I asked, nodding toward her mismatched jewelry. She flushed, her hand flying up to her earlobe. "You got me," she laughed, a real, genuine sound that felt alien in that classroom. "Don't sweat it. We're in the same secret club." I pulled up my own sleeve to show her the 2 different bracelets I always wore. One, a woven thread my grandmother made, the other a cheap leather band I'd found. We were inseparable after that, 2 quiet observers navigating the social minefield of high school. And then there was Rhiannon. If our town had royalty, she was the queen. Blonde, athletic, captain of the girls' basketball team. She had the kind of effortless grace that made people either worship or despise her. She chose to despise me. I never knew why. Maybe my quiet existence was an insult to her loud one. Maybe she just needed a target. Her boyfriend was a local myth. Girls whispered about him in the bathrooms, their voices full of a kind of reverent awe. He didn't go to our school. He was older, a specter of cool that haunted the edges of our boring lives. I'd never seen him, and I figured he was just another small-town boy with a big reputation. Until I did. He was outside the school, leaning against a motorcycle that looked like it had been ripped out of a movie. His back was to me, but even then, there was something about the way he stood, all dark denim and worn leather, that pulled your eyes. When he turned, it felt like the world tilted on its axis. He had eyes the color of a frozen lake, and they locked onto mine with an intensity that felt like a physical touch. He didn't just see me, he saw through me. "That's him," Zoya whispered, her voice tight. "That's Orion." The girls around us were tittering, preening, but I was rooted to the spot. His gaze held mine, a silent, charged conversation, until Rhiannon burst out of the doors and wrapped herself around his neck like he was a prize she'd won. The connection shattered, but a little piece of it stayed lodged in my chest, a dangerous splinter. Later that week, Zoya dragged me to a dusty antique shop downtown. She was hunting for vintage rings, and I was just looking for a distraction. The place smelled like old paper and decay. The proprietor, a man whose face was a roadmap of wrinkles, barely glanced up from his newspaper. I was running my fingers over a tray of tarnished jewelry when my hand brushed against it. A small, silver locket, shaped like a heart, but tarnished almost black with age. It felt cold, unnaturally so. I clicked it open. Instead of a place for pictures, the inside was smooth, with a tiny, spidery script etched into the metal. Its other half is searching. It was a strange, unsettling phrase, but I couldn't put it down. "You want that one?" The old man was looking at me over his glasses. His eyes weren't just old, they were worried. Yes, I think so. Some things find their own keepers, he murmured, wrapping it in a small cloth bag. Be careful what you go looking for, child. You might just find it. That night, I stopped at the Rusty Mug to pick up dinner for my mom, and he was there. Orion, sitting alone in a booth without Rhiannon. I tried to walk past, to be invisible, but his eyes snagged mine again. The low murmur of the diner faded away. He caught up to me in the parking lot, the fog swirling around his feet. You look like you're trying to escape something, he said, his voice a low rumble. And you look like the reason someone would need to, I shot back, my heart hammering against my ribs. A slow smile spread across his face. What's the worst that could happen? You get a little lost? You're strangely specific. His smile faltered for a second, then returned, softer this time. I'm Orion. Vera, come on, I'll walk you home. Every instinct screamed no. I said yes. The walk through the dark, empty streets was a blur. I was tense and awkward, but somehow he made me laugh. He was reckless and magnetic, the kind of person who made you feel dangerously alive. When we reached my porch, he gently touched my arm, and I knew what he wanted. No, I whispered, my voice shaking. You're with someone. She doesn't matter. Then he leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was consuming, a fire that burned away all the gray and left me breathless. For the first time, I understood why people destroyed their lives for a feeling. The next day, the world came crashing down. Rhiannon cornered me by the stairs between classes. The hallway was crowded, but everyone gave her a wide berth. I saw you, she hissed, her voice low and venomous. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. You stay away from him, or I swear to God, I will ruin you. Before I could answer, she did something I never expected. She pulled a small pair of nail scissors from her pocket. With a flick of her wrist, she snipped off a lock of my hair. It fell to the floor between us, a public marking. Humiliation washed over me, hot and sickening, followed by a surge of pure rage. I shoved her, hard. It wasn't a calculated move. It was a blind, instinctual reaction. But she was off balance, her expensive boots slipping on the worn linoleum. She stumbled backward. 1 step, 2. Her arms windmilled wildly as she fell down the entire flight of concrete stairs. The sound is something I will never forget. A series of wet, heavy thuds followed by a final, sickening crack. The hallway went dead silent. Blood, dark and thick, pooled beneath her head, creeping out from her nostrils. Her body gave a single, violent twitch and then was still. Everyone stared at her, then at me. Their faces were a mural of shock, horror, and judgment. I took a step back, then another. Then I turned and ran. I ran through the halls, out the main doors, across the lawn. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs felt like they were filled with cement. I collapsed in the woods at the edge of town, my screams tearing from my throat, my fingernails digging into my own face. I killed her. I killed the town's golden girl. Orion would hate me. They would all hate me. My life was over. All I wanted was to go home, hug my parents, and hold on to the last normal moments I would ever have. I crept back into my house and lied to my teeth, saying I'd failed the big test. I kept apologizing for things they didn't understand. I went to my room, curled into a ball, and cried until the world went black. I woke to a strange tickling sensation all over my body. Something soft and damp was pressed against my back. I opened my eyes. I was lying in a field of tall grass under a sky choked with a billion glittering stars, more than I'd ever seen in my life. The air was crisp and impossibly clean, and I was covered, absolutely covered, in ladybugs, a living, crawling blanket of them. A scream caught in my throat as I scrambled up, brushing the insects off my skin, my clothes, my hair. They swarmed into the air around me and then were gone. For a wild, terrifying moment, I thought I was dead. This was the afterlife. I forced my shaky legs to stand and stumbled toward a nearby road. I walked for what felt like hours until headlights cut through the darkness. I flinched, but the car slowed. It was an older woman, her face kind, her lipstick a slash of bright pink in the cab's dim light. A little boy was asleep in the back, clutching a teddy bear. "What happened to you, Sugar?" she asked, her voice like warm honey. I had a lie ready. Fight with my boyfriend. I decided I'd rather walk. She sighed, a sad, knowing sound. "Get in. It's not safe for a young thing to be out here alone. Could I use your phone?" She chuckled softly. "I'm not one for all that new technology, honey, and I'm glad I won't be around long enough to have to learn." She dropped me at the edge of town, right by the Rusty Mug. But it was wrong. The parking lot was empty. There was no music, no low hum of conversation. I pushed the door open. Inside, a single waitress I'd never seen before was wiping down the counter, her movements slow and robotic. "Can I use your phone?" I asked. "I just need to call a cab." She gestured to a payphone on the wall without looking at me. It was dead. Not even a dial tone. I went back outside, a cold dread seeping into my bones. The street was deserted. Every house was dark. There were no cars, no stray cats, no sound. Not even the wind. I turned back to the diner, and my heart stopped. It was gone. Where the Rusty Mug had stood just seconds before, there was only a vacant, weed-choked lot. I pinched my arm hard, praying I'd wake up. That's when I heard it. A sound from the woods. A wet, tearing noise followed by a low, guttural grumble that vibrated through the soles of my shoes. I froze. A colossal stag stepped out from between the trees. It was bigger than any deer I had ever seen, a monster of muscle and shadow. Its antlers were a twisted crown, thick and dark, and they were dripping with fresh blood. Something else was tangled in them. Long, blonde strands of hair. I fell backward onto the asphalt, my breath catching in my lungs. The stag turned its head, slowly. Its eyes found mine in the darkness. They were not the eyes of an animal. They were glowing with a faint, cold blue light, the exact color of Orion's. I knew then this wasn't a nightmare. It was something so much worse. This was just the beginning.